The Galactic Senate was a place of rigid tradition, where the most powerful and ancient alien species gathered to discuss matters of intergalactic importance. Today, however, the atmosphere buzzed with an unusual tension. The representatives from hundreds of planets, many with towering, multi-limbed, or entirely different forms, whispered among themselves. At the heart of the Senate, a hologram hovered, projecting the image of a small blue planet. It was the newly discovered world of the humans, a species that had recently stumbled into the vast expanse of the galaxy. They were primitive by the Senate standards, barely scratching the surface of interstellar travel. Most had dismissed them as insignificant, until now. Standing in the center of the Senate floor was Chancellor Reich, a tall and imposing alien with shimmering scales that changed color with his mood. Today, they flashed a cautious yellow, indicating his confusion. He addressed the gathered council in his native tongue, though the Senate's universal translator allowed every species to understand. The humans, he began, his voice deep and resonant, have sent a request for negotiation. A murmur spread across the room. Several senators exchanged puzzled glances. Negotiation with humans? A short, stocky alien with thick, armored skin and tusks like a warthog stood up. Senator Valgar of the MRRKT Dominion spoke, his voice gruff. Negotiation? What could these creatures possibly offer? They barely understand warp travel. Chancellor Reich paused before responding. They seek to negotiate terms of peace. They claim they do not wish for conflict with the Senate or any species under its protection. The room erupted in disbelief. Peace? It had been the Senate's custom to absorb lesser species into their alliance, often by force, if necessary. Those who resisted were crushed. No species so young, so fragile, had ever requested a peaceful dialogue before. From the shadows of the Senate, a figure stepped forward, Senator Ira of the Telkar Collective, a being with an elongated neck and tentacles for arms, hissed, "They must be bluffing. They know they cannot stand against us, so they grovel." Reich's scales shifted to a contemplative grin. Perhaps, but consider this, the humans have only recently entered our galactic fold, and yet they have managed to detect our presence, learn our language, and communicate with Usul within a matter of cycles. Few species, even the most advanced, have adapted so quickly. The room fell silent as the gravity of his words settled in. It wasn't just that the humans had sent a request, it was how quickly they had learned it. In mere months, they had gone from oblivious to the intergalactic stage to boldly requesting a negotiation with the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. Senator Valgar slammed his fist onto the table. They are nothing more than apes. If we let them grow, they will become a threat. Ira nodded in agreement, her tentacles twitching with annoyance. We must subjugate them before they grow too bold. But Reich was not convinced. His scales flickered to a thoughtful blue as he pondered the humans' motivations. What if we are wrong? What if they are not asking for peace out of fear, but strategy? The room tensed. What if the humans were not begging for mercy, but planning something far more dangerous? Senator Valgar snorted. Preposterous. Their fleets are weak, their weapons outdated. They cannot match the Senate's might. Chancellor Reich raised a hand to silence him. Perhaps, but they have already defied our expectations. We must understand their intent. For the first time in millennia, a species is offering peace, not in submission, but as equals. The room fell quiet once more as the Senate members considered the possibility. Humans, negotiating as equals. It was unheard of. Yet, something about it felt inevitable. Reich continued, we must meet with them, not just to accept or deny their terms, but to understand them. If they can learn and adapt so quickly, imagine what they could become. If we crush them now, we may be inviting a future rebellion, far more dangerous than we can anticipate. Senator Ira scoffed, or we're wasting time on a species that will never amount to anything. Reich's scales shimmered gold with finality, or we're standing at the dawn of a new era in galactic history. The Senate debated long into the night, but eventually, it was decided. A delegation would be sent to Earth to meet the humans face to face. The aliens would bring their finest diplomats, their most intimidating warships, and their most cunning strategists. As the meeting adjourned and the Senate members dispersed, a quiet unease lingered. The humans were an anomaly, unpredictable and bold. No one could be sure what would come of these negotiations, but one thing was certain. the galaxy would never be the same again. Far away, on Earth, humanity prepared, not for war, but for diplomacy, armed not with weapons, but with knowledge, resolve, and an unyielding will to survive. The sun hung low over the horizon of Earth as the alien delegation arrived. The chosen location was a remote, secure facility hidden in the mountains of a neutral territory. The human leaders had been clear they would meet on their own terms, on their own soil. The aliens had agreed, albeit reluctantly. As the alien ships descended from the sky, shimmering in hues of silver and black, the humans watched from the ground with a mixture of awe and trepidation. For most, this was the first real glimpse of extraterrestrial life, and the spectacle was nothing short of mesmerizing. Military personnel, diplomats, and scientists stood ready, their eyes fixed on the approaching craft. Inside the lead ship, Chancellor Reich observed the planet through the viewport. His scales flickered between green and gold as he studied the lush, vibrant world beneath them. It was a young planet, teeming with life and resources. Humans were not the only prize Earth had to offer. Such a primitive place, muttered Senator Valger from beside him, his tusks gleaming in the low light. We could have claimed it within days. Reich didn't respond. His mind was elsewhere on the humans. They were an enigma, and it was this mystery that made him cautious. Over the centuries, the Galactic Senate had encountered many species, most of which had submitted to their power or been swiftly conquered. But humans, they defied the pattern. What was it about them that demanded attention? What were they hiding? We must not underestimate them, Reich finally said. They adapt too quickly for comfort. Remember that. The ship touched down with a soft thud, and the alien delegation prepared to disembark. The door slid open with a hiss, revealing Earth's crisp, cool air. The humans stood in formation at the base of the landing platform, their leaders at the forefront. President Laura Reynolds, the figurehead of the human delegation, stepped forward. She was flanked by key officials, her face calm but her eyes sharp. Behind her were representatives from major world powers, people who had spent their lives navigating the complexities of politics and war. Yet, this was unlike anything they had ever experienced. Reich and the other senators descended the ramp, their towering forms casting long shadows across the tarmac. As they approached, Reich observed the human leader with great interest. She was far smaller than him, but there was something in her posture that exuded confidence and unshakable belief in her purpose. Welcome to Earth, President Reynolds began, her voice carrying over the tense silence. I am President Reynolds, and these are my colleagues. We're honored to host the Galactic Senate's delegation. Reich inclined his head slightly, a gesture of acknowledgement. I am Chancellor Reich of the Galactic Senate. We come to understand the nature of your request for negotiation. Reynolds nodded, gesturing towards a nearby structure. Let's discuss it inside. There's much to cover. As they moved toward the building, the tension between the two groups was palpable. Every glance, every movement was measured. Both sides knew that this meeting could change the future of their respective civilizations any way or another. The conference room was spacious, with a long, polished table in the center. Once seated, the two sides exchanged pleasantries, but the air remained thick with anticipation. It wasn't long before Reynolds got to the point. We understand the power of the Galactic Senate and the reach of its influence, Reynolds began, her tone measured. But humanity seeks something more than survival. We seek cooperation, not subjugation. Senator Valger's growl was barely concealed. Cooperation? You dare to speak of equality? You do not know the galaxy. Human, there are species far greater than, you're stronger, wiser, more advanced. We offer you a place, but you will know your rank. Reynolds met his gaze without flinching. We do not intend to challenge your authority, Senator. We're fully aware of our current limitations, but our species is not defined by weakness. We are defined by our capacity to learn, to evolve, to survive, and more importantly, by our desire for peace. Reich leaned forward, his golden eyes locking onto hers. Peace or strategy? You must know that offering negotiations to the Senate is no small matter. What do you really seek, human? There was a brief pause as Reynolds considered her words. What we seek is a future where humanity can stand as partners in the galactic community, not as slaves or conquests. We know what happens to those who resist the Senate's will. We also know that cooperation can be far more valuable than conflict. You presume much. Ira, the Telkar senator, hissed from her corner. Her tentacles waved in irritation. We could destroy your world if we chose. Your technology is laughable compared to ours. And yet you haven't. Reynolds countered smoothly. You're here, listening to us. That means you see some value in what we offer. Reich's scales flashed with interest. The human leader was playing a dangerous game, but she wasn't wrong. The Senate could obliterate Earth, but the cost would be high. The humans had proven to be resilient and resourceful. A prolonged conflict, even against a lesser species, could destabilize regions of the galaxy they couldn't afford to lose. And what exactly do you offer? Reich asked, his voice low and dangerous. Reynolds leaned forward. Humanity is on the verge of a technological leap. You've seen how quickly we adapt. With your guidance, we could become a valuable ally. Our planet has resources. Our minds can innovate, and we have something no other species possesses. Valgar snorted. And what might that be? Reynolds smiled a quiet, confident smile that made Reich's scales shimmer with unease. Determination. Every species in this galaxy has limits, but humanity, we don't stop. We don't give up. You've seen what we've done in a short time. Imagine what we could do with a century. For a moment, the room was silent. The aliens exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of her words sinking in. Humans were fragile. Yes, their technology was primitive, but their potential, that was something the Senate could not ignore. Reich rose to his feet, his towering form casting a long shadow over the humans. His scales were a deep, contemplative green now. We will consider your offer, President Reynolds, but know this, if we sense deception, if you attempt to play us for fools, the consequences will be swift and severe.